Hello everybody and welcome back to this special episode, and today's episode is going to actually look at NavyField 2. As some of you are aware, NavyField 2 has gone into beta test starting December the 4th, and it's been a bit of a conversation on the World of Warships forum as to just how much competition NavyField 2 will pose to World of Warships, and so hopefully by the end of this episode I'll be able to resolve that debate for all of you. But first things first, let's talk about what NF2 actually is. Well, NavyField 2 is supposed to be the successor to the original NavyField 1. Now, NavyField 1 is actually a very, very old game. It still exists today. It's a game that works primarily on sprites, and things are very sort of dated with NavyField 1. And so a lot of people were hoping that NavyField 1 would essentially get a modern upgrade with a better graphics engine. And so that is what we have right here, which is NavyField 2. So what made NavyField 1 great? And I guess that's a very, very important question. NavyField 1 was amazing in the sense that it was a very, very skill-oriented game. Unlike a lot of other games, take for example Battle Stations Midway or Battle Stations Pacific, where a lot of automation occurred, NavyField was one of those games that required you to do just about everything on your warship. So you were responsible for firing the main guns, the secondary guns, you were responsible for controlling and maneuvering your ship, controlling the speed, dodging torpedoes, and flying your scout around. It was a lot of work, and it was very, very skill oriented, and I think that's what made NavyField 1 great, is that its gameplay was phenomenal, even though its graphics and a whole bunch of other stuff were actually quite poor. And so can NavyField 2 replicate the success of NavyField 1? Well, let's take a look. The first thing that I think we should all look at is the fact that a lot of people wanted NavyField 2 because they wanted a sort of a graphics upgrade. And I have to say, if you look at the graphics right now that I'm showing you of this destroyer, I'm not really that impressed. There's not a lot of detail. And I mean, here's a battleship, and take a look at that. That looks a lot like a toy to me. It doesn't really feel like a kind of a battleship. It just feels like a toy that somebody would put in a bathtub or something. That's what it feels like for me. And in fact, if you look at the harbor graphics for the individual ships, I hate to say it, but I thought NavyField 1 ships even look better. I mean, here's an example of it right now. I mean, take a look at the harbor view from NavyField 1, and here you go. I mean, these NavyField 1 ships, even though these were just sort of, I guess, hand-drawn or whatever, and they were just images, they looked like people had spent time and effort in making them look good. I mean, you see the little details, the little AA guns, the little things on the deck, and then you go back to NavyField 2, and like nothing. Like, this just looks really plain, as if like all the minor details that would have made the ship look really good were simply omitted. I mean, I am extremely disappointed at this, because if you have seen what World of Warships has in its harbor view for its ships, it is absolutely phenomenal. Let me throw up a video clip for you here, and you take a look at this. This is absolutely amazing. Look at the detail on this Nagato class battleship. I mean, the World of Warships team have spent probably countless number of hours trying to make sure that every single ship is replicated as faithfully as possible to their real-life counterparts. So I mean, you can see the love they put into these models. I mean, look at the detail on this battleship. I mean, nothing looks like it has been missed. I mean, every little detail has been done beautifully and accurately to the original historical ship. And so this is the thing that really bothers me, because NavyField 2 could have done something very similar. Now, I understand that they're, SDE is a smaller studio and they don't have the same amount of workplace, but at least you could have shown the same degree of love and affection into your ship models. And what you saw earlier with that battleship looked like somebody had just mashed together a whole bunch of shapes and said, well, there's a battleship. I mean, it doesn't feel like a battleship. It feels like a toy. But look at this early alpha view of World of Warships. It is absolutely gorgeous. But I know what some of you are already thinking, but NavyField was never really known for its graphics. So how about its gameplay? So let's talk about that. So let's look at the gameplay. Now, the original system in NavyField 1 of joining a battle room is gone now. So now there's just a battle button, you click, and matchmaking does the rest. So aside from that, there is one good piece of news for some of the old NF1 veterans, which is that NavyField 2 has brought back manual aim, so you do have access to that now. And it is quite similar to NavyField 1's manual aim system, so that's good. But aside from that, yeah, so let's go into battle, let's take a look and see how it is. And here you go, so you just kind of enter a loading screen and you have no idea who you're with and what the teams will be, but hey, you just trust Matchmaker and you trust that it'll put you into a battle that you will be able to do something in. In this particular battle, I will be using the manual FCS because, you know, I'm a NavyField 1 player and I've always stuck to that manual FCS as being the best way to play NavyField, so that's what I'm going to do here. So one of the first things that I noticed when I came into this battle was that all the ships are very spread out. You start off in various other locations, and yeah, things just seem to be not in the same place. But aside from that, yeah, it just feels a little messy at the beginning. Like in NavyField 1, you all started on the same side. Here, you kind of start in 3 different locations. And yeah, aside from that though, the controls are actually NavyField 1 controls, so that is good. You do have to rebind the fire key, but they said that that will be something they will fix. So as you can tell, there you go, there's the angle of the guns and stuff. So, you know, all's good. That's the secondary guns. You can also control that with the original manual controls. So at least that, you know, works. Yeah, there you go. I fired something and there you go, it does work. So quite good. However, it's no longer the sort of same battle style as NavyField 1. In NavyField 1, it was just, you know, ship-on-ship combat on the open ocean, and that was it. NavyField 2, there are objectives. Now, as you can see, there's a ship there that is, I guess, dropping landing craft to capture a point, and, you know, there you go. So take a look at that. It's capturing some radar station or something, and apparently that station will give us some kind of advantage. Now, if you've also noticed the other thing, which is ships really feel quite fast. I mean, I'm in this sort of pre-dreadnought battleship and I'm zipping around at like 25 knots. And if most of you have been aware of sort of any aspect of naval history, 25 knots is quite fast actually. Most fast battleships in the early generations only went 25 knots, so quite surprised that that, you know, I'm in this pre-dreadnought, I'm zipping around the battlefield. So obviously I'm guessing NavyField is sticking more to its tried and true formula from NavyField 1, which is not all ships have historically accurate speeds, which is okay, as long as the gameplay does stack up. So there you go, shells are being fired at the enemy ship. Now, what I did notice is that I never really got a chance to fire my battleship guns at range, which is something that I did quite often in NavyField 1, because in NavyField 1 there was quite a decent way to spot people and to shoot them. Here, no visual range at all. I mean, I have no way to spot anything I'm shooting at most of the time, and a lot of time you get caught by surprise when like random ships pop up. So here you go, there's a DD that just popped up, and you know, I'm just gonna take aim, and of course I overshoot horribly. And yeah, manual FCS is quite hard on NavyField 2. It's not as, I guess, easy as it was in NavyField 1, and I mean, I was quite proficient at manual FCS, so I don't know, just it doesn't feel the same, and yet it does, and that's the really awkward part. So, you know, I'm trying my best to, I guess, adapt to manual FCS on NavyField 2, but I just feel like, I don't know, ships are just too fast. I don't even know how to describe this. It doesn't feel like the pacing that you had in NavyField 1. There's too many things that happen all around you too quickly. So here I am, I'm seeing that there are enemy ships, you know, over there, and I'm trying to get shots in on them, and I'm adjusting the angle of my guns, and yeah, like most of the time I don't hit anything whatsoever. And you know, I'm doing the best I can, and then out of like nowhere, as you'll see in like a second or two, out of nowhere, I'm gonna run into like another enemy ship like right there, and there's no warning that this guy's coming. All of a sudden, like I'm down to like angle 4 or something, and I'm trying to shoot my guns flat at this battleship, and of course, I'm going to get my, I'm like sad to say this, I'm going to get my butt absolutely kicked by, these sort of ships that just randomly pop up. Now, at least in NavyField 1, you knew that, there were different sides that that the enemy could come from. And so here, it just feels chaotic. There doesn't seem to be a time where you're able to get your ships into any kind of line formation or line abreast formation and just get teamwork, anything. No, nothing at all. It just seems to be like random. There I go, I ran into an island, and apparently there's this weird thing where my ship is apparently being towed back by some imaginary AI, but that's cool. And here's the other cool thing. The secondary guns and the primary guns, apparently you're supposed to sort of switch between them when you're shooting or something like that. And it's not that easy to do with the manual control, because you're constantly having to adjust the angle and then switch to guns, adjust the angle, switch to the other gun. And not a huge fan of this way of actually fighting. Now, I'm trying my best, and I'm like using like angle 2, and I'm trying my best to get shots in. It's just not very easy. It just feels too chaotic, and the pacing of it is extremely fast, and that makes it very, very difficult to use the manual control system. And this is in quite stark contrast to NavyField 1, because even though NavyField 1 does have its chaotic moments, it does have that ability to use the manual control effectively. Like, there is still that time to do it. NavyField 2, it doesn't feel like there's much time. You're always just just shooting, and things are just moving around so quickly, and you're dealing with so many things, and it's really, really difficult. So as you can see, I'm just not having much luck landing shots. And the angle, the other thing about the angles is it's actually quite frustrating, because it's just like, from what I feel like, angles like 3 and 4 shoot to a certain distance, and then if you go like angle 10 and you think, okay, well, it'll probably shoot maybe a little bit more, it like shoots way further than you expect. And so I don't know, maybe I just didn't get the hang of it, but I wasn't too fond of this manual FCS, even though I am very good at the NavyField 1 FCS. So okay, I get suck. So I struggled with the manual FCS in NavyField 2, so I figured, okay, you know what, I'm gonna go and use the auto FCS, and I'm gonna give that auto FCS a try and see if the auto FCS is better, or potentially does it work better, or whatever the thing is. And so I decided to switch over and use the automatic FCS, and to see how automatic fares. So there you go, I'm going to there. That's how you change it. So you go into the hockey, you switch over between the two. So I decide to queue up and decide to give automatic FCS a try and see how it compares. Now, back in NavyField 1, auto FCS was practically useless. Like, the shell spread was not very good, and you can never get your guns to focus fire on one particular point. And so was never a fan of auto FCS back in NavyField 1. But in NavyField 2, after my initial encounter, I guess, with manual FCS, where I realized that the manual FCS was quite difficult to use in the sort of significantly faster paced environment of NavyField 2, I thought, you know what, maybe I'll give auto FCS a try. And so there you go, I'm starting to queue up, and it does take a while to queue up, so you know what, I'm going to skip to the point where I actually get myself into a battle. So sit tight, and here we go, I'm going to skip ahead. Okay, so here's me in another battle, and this time, as you can tell, I am using my automatic FCS. And the auto FCS is super simple. All you gotta do is click your mouse for where you want the guns to aim, and the guns will automatically aim into that area, and then all you gotta do is press the fire button. So I'm just gonna try to zip around the battlefield and see if we can find a target, and see if this automatic FCS does a better job than the manual one that I was using earlier. So, this NavyField 2 does, I guess, compared to NavyField 1, I guess graphically it does look better in most cases, except for the harbor. But right now I am testing World of Warships in the alpha stages, and even though I can't say much, because non-disclosure agreement and all, I do have to tell you that World of Warships will look phenomenally better by bounds and leaps and whatever else you want to say. It'll just absolutely blow your mind how beautiful that game will look. But NavyField 2, okay, I do have to say, it does look better than NF1, but that's not really much of an accomplishment. But anyways, so I'm just going around the map, trying out the automatic FCS and just trying to get the guns to, and see a ship, and yeah, take a look at this. Just click and press spacebar, and ship does all the work for me. Just lines up all the guns, gets the right angle, and I fire and I hit stuff. And it's just easier. Significantly easier, and I have no problem hitting the ship from distance at all. And this to me is a major problem, because the one part of NavyField 1 that I adored so much, the skill element, is completely gone. You don't need it. You can just completely rely on this automatic FCS. Now, I did notice that there seems to be a bit of a weather change going on there. It started to rain, but I don't think it really affected anything, just kind of maybe an effect kind of thing. Yeah, so I don't know what to say about this, but I'm really disappointed, because NavyField 1 I felt was just something that was so much more like skill elements required, and this just is point and click and press spacebar, and that's it. That's the whole game. And I just noticed, though, there was a submarine that went right by me. So they did keep submarines, even though most of the hardcore NavyField 1 players will tell you that was probably one of the worst decisions that SDE ever made. But you know what? If they want to make more money from it, who am I to stop them, right? But yeah, NavyField did bring subs back, so another one of those things that makes me somewhat avoidant of playing this game. So there's a scout plane, and I guess I am spotted, but as you can tell, the view range is tiny. It is just absolutely pathetic how many things I can actually see, and I guess you're very, very dependent upon planes and capturing like radar islands and stuff like that. I don't know. Anyways, and so I'm just gonna drive around, and then all of a sudden I notice that there are torpedo bombers, and I am getting a torp bombed. I do luckily manage to dodge this squadron of planes, and yeah, just it doesn't have a feeling of a naval combat game. That I guess is my biggest beef right now with NavyField 2. It has lost the charm from NavyField 1 that made NavyField 1 actually feel like a naval combat game. NavyField 2 feels like it feels like this weird kind of, I don't know, I guess I would describe it kind of like it's a card game but with ships. That's kind of what it feels like. Everybody's just zipping around in these little ships that drive so fast, are so maneuverable, and you just kind of point and click on things you want destroyed, and you just press spacebar and stuff happens. And that is how I would define what NavyField 2 has become. It has become a naval card game. That's basically what it is. And it'll probably appeal to some people, but I am sorely disappointed in what this game has become, and no amount of words can describe my disappointment with this. I was really actually hoping that they would just take the best parts of NavyField 1 and just simply upgrade the graphics and make it look good. Anyways, I do get sunk by torpedo bombers, but I do have to say automatic FCS, way better than manual FCS in the new version. So anyways, and I guess I have to go back and look at the last thing, which is, well, how much of the original sort of pay to win system from NavyField 1 has been brought over to NavyField 2. So, I decide I'm gonna go and visit the store and take a look at some stuff. Now, NavyField 1 was somewhat pay to win, because you did have to boost and vet your crews and all that stuff, and that took money, and it made your crews significantly better than if you didn't do that kind of thing. So I take a look, and I look at sort of premium account, because typically premium accounts in NavyField are about $10, so it's going to cost maybe about 1,500 gold. So I'm guessing that 1,500 gold is probably going to be equivalent to about $10 in NavyField 2. So that's kind of the yardstick that we're going to measure anything. And so I go into the store and I take a look. Well, The good news is that all the ships cost credits, so that means, you're not going to have to be paying any real money to buy any of the ships, which is, great. The same thing for planes. You don't have to spend any real money to buy torpedo planes or anything like that. But this is something that I wasn't really fond of when I took a look at it. This is the armor of the ships, and when you have the armor, your ships become significantly tougher to sink, and all the armor costs credits, which means, if you don't make enough credits, you can't really buy armor. And the armor is not permanent either, unlike NavyField 1, where if you spent the credits, your armor was at least permanent. Here the armor is temporary, lasts 7 days, and once 7 days are up, you have to buy new armor. Not a big fan of this. And this is where I realized, oh, here we go again. The crew that you will need to increase your performance in your ship all cost gold. And they're not exactly cheap. I mean, at 1,200 gold, probably about just under $10 for every sailor. Now, the average battleship, which even though I don't show you here, but this battleship has enough slots to probably accommodate, I would say at least maybe $60 to $70 worth in crews to boost your performance. And that's interesting, right? So all the crews cost money, and but even that maybe doesn't bother me as much. I thought, what, okay, fine, the crews, fine, they're gonna cost some gold to get some early, faster leveled crews. Okay, fine, I'm still okay with that. The aids, they give some bonus experience. I'm okay with that, costing a little bit of gold too. All right, I'm at least, and up until this moment, I'm at least okay with what you can spend gold on. The crew and stuff, not totally fond of it, but at least I can understand, because they do still need a revenue source, so that I can understand. And then I decided to do the worst thing, and I clicked on the support little tab, and as soon as I clicked on that, I regretted every little bit of it, because I started to find things like this, patriotism and triumph. And triumph, it's like you maintain your officers' morale at 170%, and it costs 720 gold for 7 days. And I'm guessing that if you buy triumph, and you're constantly able to buy triumph, your crew will perform significantly better. Not only that, but take a look at this. The ship support tab, then I clicked on that, and I regretted it, because as soon as I clicked on this, I realized how much NavyField 2 had become pay to win. I mean, here you can buy items that would boost your ship's reload speed, accuracy, repair rate, all those things, and the only way to acquire these is by using gold. I mean, that is unbelievable. Basically, you could buy yourself a massive advantage over other people who are free to play. NavyField has officially become as pay to win as you can possibly imagine. And people say that wargaming is bad, but trust me guys, if you thought wargaming is bad, you have not met STE. This is absolutely pay to win, and the more money you pay, the more you're able to do whatever. So at the end of the day, what's the verdict? Well, it is still the beta stage of the game, and perhaps STE will realize what they're doing wrong and come back and fix it. But all I see right now is that NavyField 2 is essentially this pay to win, super arcade-ish naval card game that will maybe entertain a very select audience. And trust me, World of Warships will have absolutely no competition from NavyField 2, and I think that will become the premier naval combat game for quite a large number of years. And NavyField 2, well, who knows, maybe if they improve it, it'll stay around like NavyField 1 does. But if they just continue to carry on with what they have right now, I don't see them really gaining much of the naval combat market share that I believe World of Warships and War Thunder fleets will be fighting over in the future. And aside from that, this is just a quick overview of the NavyField 2 versus World of Warships debate, so hopefully that answers that burning question that many of you are having. So aside from that, hope you all have a fantastic day, and I'll see you all on the high seas soon.